Order in the court. The biting snap of the judge's gavel parted the air like a bolt of lightning. The report resonated through the wooden partitions, ringing back through the still room until each inhalation in the room hung suspended. Time itself held still for an instant. Robyn Brown sat immobile at the defense table, her hands clenched so hard against the smooth oak that her knuckles whitened. Once loved by Kody and once referred to as the favorite wife by the millions of America's viewers, was no longer lit by the reality TV lights. She wasn't the softly spoken woman in family interviews or the coiffed figure in confessionals. No, today she was a defendant, a target, a woman on trial. Her breast heaved and plunged with swift deliberation as she struggled to maintain her calm, but her gaze flashed out to the three women across the room: Christine, Janelle, and Meri. Their faces, etched with pain and betrayal, were trained on her like arrows to the heart. These were no strangers. These were sisters she once knew. These were women she once hugged in the name of family. But today, they weren't here to welcome. They were here to confront. They were here to complete what years of silence, heartache, and betrayal had begun. And seated right in the middle of all this turmoil, still as a statue, shoulders weighed down, golden curls faded under the cold fluorescent lighting, was Kody Brown himself. The man who had been the linchpin of this polygamous dynasty was now sitting like a specter, incapable of looking any one of these women in the eye. The air in the courtroom was palpable. Every breath, every scratch of a foot, every anxious hack from the crowd weighed down like lead on each of their chests. The onlookers, fans, journalists, and gawkers from around town leaned forward in anticipation, aware they were witnessing something more than a trial. They were seeing the disintegration of a family once marched forth as an emblem of solidarity, religion, and strength. The judge, a stern, silver-haired man with eyes that appeared to read the soul, leaned forward. His voice, composed as it was, had a weight of authority like a hammer poised to fall. "This case," he said, "is not merely about property or money. This case is about betrayal, about promises broken, about lives joined for decades and sundered in silence." The words hung before her, as thick as smoke. Robyn swallowed, her throat parched. She wanted to cry out that she wasn't the bad guy here, that she wasn't the monster the world made her out to be. But her lips remained shut, because in her own heart, even she didn't know if she believed it anymore. Christine's eyes stabbed into her, hard with anger but shining with unshed tears. Janelle sat bolt upright, her expression set in determination, clutching a thick wedge of documents like a sword she was prepared to use. And Meri? Meri was the most difficult to decipher. Her expression was serene, but her silence was thick with decades of pain. The judge went on. "This courtroom will not just hear the facts, but the truths hidden in the shadows of this family. The public might view fame, cameras, and headlines, but this court sees the people, the hurt, and the promises lost." A shiver ran through the crowd. Reporters wrote rapidly in their notebooks. One turned to another and whispered, "This is bigger than television. This is the end of the Brown family dynasty." Robyn felt ill. She had steeled herself for charges of money, bias, even manipulation, but she wasn't braced for the burden of being the one responsible for destroying a whole family heritage. She risked a look at Kody. His expression was flat, his hands tightly folded. He did not look at her. He did not look at Christine, Janelle, or Meri. He glared at the floor. Like if he didn't look at them, he could make them forget that this was taking place. That hurt more than anything. "Mrs. Brown," the voice of the judge snapped her back. Her name rang out in the chamber like a bell. "Do you comprehend the charges filed against you?" Her lips were shaking. She parted her mouth, but no words were there. She glanced once more at Christine, Janelle, and Meri, and she could see nothing but history. The laughter they had once shared, the meals eaten around the same table, the kids playing through backyards. And then she saw how it had all broken apart. The cold shoulders, the hushed fights, the nights Kody would leave one wife to sleep at another's home. "Yes, Your Honor," she finally whispered, her own voice barely audible. The judge nodded deliberately. "So let it be stated, This is not merely another trial. This is the deconstruction of a family. And this court shall discover the truth of how it came to be. Gasps traveled through the gallery. Christine hunched forward, her eyes narrowing. Janelle set her jaw. Meri didn't change expression, but her hand tightened into a fist on her lap. And Robyn? She felt the world weighing down upon her shoulders. Her heart pounded against her chest as if to burst. This was it. There was no cutting room to water down her words, no crew to manage the story. This was raw, this was real, and this was out there. For the first time, Robyn Brown wasn't shielded by Kody's love, wasn't defended by her children's smiles, wasn't comforted by the title of legal wife. For the first time, she was completely alone. The gavel slammed once more. Let the testimonies begin. And with that, the trial of Robyn Brown, the trial of the entire Brown legacy, had begun. The courtroom was hushed, except for the rustling of papers and the pounding of hearts. The echo of the gavel still filled the air, as Christine Brown stood up from her seat. Her hands shook a little, but her eyes were keen and unbending. No longer was she just a wife in the shadow of polygamy. She was a woman with a voice, and today she was going to make use of it. Your Honor, she started, her voice shaking before strengthening. For many years we, the wives of Kody Brown, gave up everything for the vision of one big family. We believed in oneness, in sisterhood, in sharing love. But that vision was tainted, and it started when Robyn became part of our lives. Robyn winced. The words hurt before Christine could even complete. Christine's voice became firmer, more assertive with every sentence. She didn't simply marry into our family. She rearranged us. She talked Kody into constructing her the largest house, purchasing her children the finest opportunities, and the rest of us, while the rest of our children weren't even being considered. I sat there while my own children pleaded with his attention, with his love, and he rejected them to sit in Robyn's living room. Gasps filled the gallery. Journalists scribbled, fans at the back of the room shook their heads, whispering. Christine's voice trembled with tears. I endured this marriage for decades. I trusted in Kody, in this family. But when Robyn arrived, I was rendered invisible, and my children were too. You can term it favoritism, you can term it manipulation, but I term it betrayal. Her words seemed to weigh in the air, cutting through Robyn's chest like glass. The judge nodded gravely. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Present any supporting documents. Christine's lawyer walked over with photos, messages, and receipts, proof of financial inequality, of Kody's one-sided spending, of the trend Christine alleged. The gallery grew more hushed. The tale wasn't just emotional now. It was concrete. Before Robyn could catch her breath, however, a second storm brewed. Janelle Brown stepped forward next. Her face was set, her hands unshaking as she made her way to the podium with a thick portfolio of papers under her arm. In contrast to Christine's shaken fervor, Janelle addressed the board in cold accuracy, the voice of a woman who had borne too long the burden of economic survival. Your Honor, Janelle started, opening the folder. I stand before you today not only as a wife, but as the economic pillar of this family for many years. While the cameras were rolling, while the world believed that we coexisted peacefully, the reality was far from it. We lived from paycheck to paycheck. We managed, and when money vanished, it always seemed to vanish into Robyn's pocket. Robyn shook her head furiously, muttering, "That's not true. I never stole." But Janelle went on, unflappable. I did the books. I saw the accounts. I saw mortgage payments on Robyn's house, paid in full, while the rest of us were barely scraping by to pay bills. I saw Kody investing money into her children's future, while mine were left to make do on their own. And when I questioned things, I was told to shut up. Don't worry about it, he'd tell me. But I knew. I knew the money was draining away, one favor, one buy at a time, until the rest of us had nothing left. She held up copies of account records for the court to see, bank transfers, credit card statements, receipts. Every page was like another tap of the hammer on Robyn's already tenuous defense. This wasn't favoritism. This was intentional. This was a husband choosing one wife over all the rest. The gallery exploded once more. Mutterings swirled like wildfire. Some gasped in horror. Others nodded with understanding. The world had long accused Robyn of favoritism. But now, here it was. Exposed, black and white on paper. Robyn's stomach twisted with pain. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. She needed to scream. Needed to fight back. Needed to tell them she hadn't requested this. That she hadn't pleaded with Kody to pick her over them. But the court wasn't listening to justification. The court was listening for facts. And so the ultimate blow fell. Meri Brown rose slowly, clasping her hands together, her eyes far off but keen. She had no folder, no pile of proof. Like Christine and Janelle, she bore something more substantial. Years of silence. Her voice was gentle, but the words sliced deeper than any paper. "I was Kody's first wife," she declared. Her voice little more than a whisper. "I was the one who stood by him when nobody else would. I built this marriage from scratch. I had our first children. I gave my entire life to this family. And then, I was discarded." She turned to look at Robyn completely, her eyes welling up with tears. "When you arrived, I had thought you were my sister. I brought you in. I thought you wanted to be with us. But instead, you became the substitute. You became the legal wife. Kody divorced me. His first wife. His wife of decades. Simply to marry you. Do you understand what that did to me? Do you have any idea what it is like to feel erased? To be told that your whole life, your whole marriage doesn't matter anymore." The courtroom was dead silent. Even the reporters stopped writing. Meri's words were heavier than numbers. Heavier than accusations. They were raw, unfiltered heartbreak. Her voice cracked. "I lost my marriage. I lost my family. I lost myself. And I don't know if it was you or him. Or both of you. But when you walked in, I was pushed out. That's the truth. I live with every day." A tear rolled down her cheek. But she didn't brush it away. She allowed it to slide, allowing the entire courtroom to witness her hurt. Robyn buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking uncontrollably. She had prepared for Christine's fire, for Janelle's logic. But Meri's quiet devastation pierced her like nothing else. The judge's voice finally broke the silence. "Thank you, Mrs. Brown." The three women took their seats. Christine bunched her fists, her chest heaving with emotion. Janelle's lips were compressed, her eyes locked ahead. Meri sat down slowly, her expression unfathomable, but her silence a shriek louder than any words. And Robyn, she stood left alone, shattered by their truths. In the space of an hour, three women had gouged open her soul before the world. They hadn't merely accused her, they'd made her out to be the villain in the fall of a family dynasty. The gavel came down once more. Defendant will now have her opportunity to respond. Robyn wasn't prepared, because inside, she knew. No matter what she said, there was nothing she could do to take away the knives that had already sliced into her heart. The gavel's echo still lingered. When the judge turned toward Robyn, "Mrs. Brown," he said firmly, "you've heard the accusations. Now is your opportunity to respond. The floor is yours." For an instant Robyn was still. She felt like a heavy weight was in her. Her throat constricted. She could hear the murmurs of the crowd, the scribbling of the reporters, the insistent tick of the courtroom clock. Each sound bore down on her chest, until she felt as though she would buckle from the pressure of it all. And lastly, with shaking hands, she struggled to stand. Her chair scraped on the ground, a jarring screech that caused her to wince. All eyes were focused on her. She swallowed hard, her words a mere whisper at first. "I never wanted this." The room went still. "I never set out to ruin anyone's family." She wept, already having tears brimming in her eyes. She placed a hand to her chest, as if she could calm the tempest within. "I wasn't some homewrecker, some manipulator when I met Kody. I was a divorced mother of 3. I was shattered, terrified, and desperate to provide my children with a secure home. That's all I ever wanted." Her words trembled, tenuous yet sharp. She glanced at Christine first, her crying face shaking. "Christine, I loved you. You were brave, witty, the center of this family. I never attempted to fill your shoes. I never wanted to steal your children's father. But Kody, he kept selecting me. And I did not know how to prevent it. I did not know how to make it equal. I pleaded with him to spend more time with you. With your children. But he did not hear me. Christine's jaw went tight. Her anger wavered with uncertainty for the first time. Robyn wheeled around to Janelle. Her tears-colored eyes diminished her sight. But her voice came louder. Janelle, you were the anchor. You kept this family intact when no other could. I know you believe I stole from you. I know you believe I drained this family financially. But I never asked for those things. I never instructed Kody to give me more. He did it voluntarily. And yes, I accepted. Perhaps I should have refused. Perhaps I should have said no. But I was afraid. Afraid that if I didn't accept what he provided, I'd lose it all again. I thought I had to protect my children first. Janelle's eyes relaxed. Briefly before she stiffened her face. And Robyn turned to Meri. Her breath stuck in her throat. Meri? I never wanted your marriage. I never wanted your spot. When Kody left you to marry me, I didn't think I won. I felt like a thief. I felt guilty every day. You don't think I celebrated it. But I didn't. I sobbed myself to bed. Because I knew what it meant to you. I was scared enough not to say no. I believed that if I said no to him, he would leave me as well. Meri's mouth clamped shut. Her eyes sparkled. But she did not speak. Robyn's body trembled as tears finally spilled out. She gripped the podium as if it were the only thing holding her upright. I entered into this family with hope. I yearned for love. I yearned to believe in sisterhood. And what happened was that I became the villain. Wherever I go, people gossip behind my back. Fans call me snake, manipulator, the cause your marriages broke up. Do you know what it feels like? To enter a supermarket and hear strangers refer to you as a home wrecker. To watch your kids suffer because the world dislikes their mother. The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge leaned back in his chair. His typical hard eyes now kindled. Her voice broke again. On the verge of being a whisper. I'm not perfect. I made mistakes. But I loved all of you. In my own way. And I never wanted this family to fall apart. I didn't ruin us. The truth is, Kody did. And we all got hurt because of it. Gasps echoed through the gallery. Journalists wrote frantically, recording every utterance. Robyn wiped her face. But the tears continued to fall. She was no longer polished, measured television woman. She was raw, broken, human. Her chest rose and fell as she went on. Desperation spilling out. You all hate me for being his favorite. But do you know what it feels like to be the favorite of a man who abandons his own children? To watch him neglect. To watch him hurt you. And then to know, deep down, that someday he'll do the same to me. I don't feel chosen. I feel cursed. Her voice rose with pain, shaking the courtroom walls. I believed I had found safety. But all I got was blame. I believed I had found love. But all I got was loneliness. And now here I stand. Alone before you. The world and this court. Pleading with you to not view me as a monster. But as a woman who simply longed for a family. Her knees buckled. And for a terrifying second, it looked like she might collapse. Her lawyer reached out, steadying her. Robyn covered her face with her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. The courtroom was silent. Not even the sound of scribbling filled the air. Every eye, Christine's, Janelle's, Meri's, Kody's, and the judge's, was fixed on Robyn. For once they did not see the woman they held responsible. They saw a wife. They saw a mother. They saw a woman, broken by the same man who had sworn to defend her. Finally the judge spoke. His voice even and low. Mrs. Brown, the court understands your hurt. But this is not an issue of emotions. This is an issue of fact. And fact will be revealed today. Robyn folded her hands. Her cheek flushed and damp with tears. She nodded weakly. She knew the worst was yet to come. Because next, the man at the center of it all, the man who bound them together and ripped them apart, would at last testify. And Robyn didn't know if he would rescue her or wreck her. The gavel crashed down. Call Kody Brown to the stand. The words have the force of a warning storm. Call Kody Brown to the stand. All the heads in the courtroom swiveled simultaneously. Some viewers leaned forward, tightening their notebook grip, while others muttered indignantly, as if finally this is what they have been anticipating. Pencils from reporters floated in the air, poised to record each syllable. Kody fidgeted in his seat. His golden curls, once a badge of confidence, now seemed limp in the glare. Wearing his jacket straight, he slowly got to his feet, though his shoulders caved under an unseen burden. As he strode towards the witness stand, Robyn's eyes trailed him in desperation. She needed him. She needed him to defend her, to stand firm and tell her she wasn't the monster that the wives made her out to be. Her heart was thudding, mouthing a prayer only she could hear. Please, Kody, don't leave me alone in this. Christine crossed her arms, her mouth set in a thin line. Janelle drummed her fingers on the desk, her expression unreadable, but her tension clear. Meri was still, her eyes on the man she once thought of as her husband, a whirlwind of memories dancing behind her eyes. The judge waved his hand. Mr. Brown, place your right hand on the Bible. Kody complied, his hand shaking slightly. I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The vow resonated in the room. Everyone knew. Truth was the one thing Kody had evaded for years. He took a seat, his eyes flitting between the wives, to Robyn and then to the ground. The lawyer started. Mr. Brown, you heard the accounts of Christine, Janelle, and Meri. They say your favoritism for Robyn broke this family apart. Do you concur? Or do you disagree with what they said? The silence was choking. The courtroom leaned in, anticipating. Kody swallowed hard. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. He slapped his palms against his knees, stalling. Christine shattered the silence with a harsh tone. Answer the question, Kody. For once in your life, just tell the truth. Kody winced. His chest heaved and fell hard, as if every breath was a struggle. Then, speaking low, his voice shaking, he replied, I don't know how to answer that. Gasps were given. The gallery hummed with whispers. Robyn's heart plunged. What do you mean you don't know? The lawyer asked more insistently. Mr. Brown, it's an easy question. Was Robyn manipulative and got you to leave the other wives? Or were these your own choices? Kody shut his eyes for a brief time, as if stepping inside his own head. When he opened them again, they brimmed with tears. I preferred Robyn, he confessed at last, his voice breaking. I paid more attention to her, more time, more of everything. And I convinced myself it was because she needed me more. She had a broken home. She had children who didn't have a dad. I thought I was saving her. But in so doing, I hurt the rest of my family. I pushed Christine away. I ignored Janelle. I left Meri behind. That's the truth. The courtroom hummed louder now. Reporters wrote wildly. Cameras snapped. Robyn's tears streamed more quickly. Hope flared for an instant. He's admitting it. He's telling them it was him and not me. But then the lawyer leaned in closer. Mr. Brown, are you saying Robyn has no blame? That she had no role in your decisions? Kody hesitated. His jaw clenched. His eyes darted toward Robyn, then back to the lawyer. His silence thundered. Robyn's stomach fell. Her heart yelled. Tell it, Kody. Tell I didn't do it. Stand up for me. At last he spoke. But not what she hoped to hear. I don't know. Gasps washed the courtroom like a wave crashing on the beach. Robyn's hand clapped over her mouth, as if she'd been punched. She shook her head wildly, muttering no. No, no. Christine sat back in her chair, a bitter laugh escaping her. There it is. He can't even stand up for her. Not anymore. Janelle's expression turned grim, her suspicions vindicated. Meri closed her eyes, a single tear rolling down her face. The lawyer pushed on. Mr. Brown, do you love Robyn Brown? The question cut through the air like a knife. Robyn stood stock still. This was no longer legal. This was personal. This was her whole life on trial. Kody's lips quivered. He looked at Robyn, whose eyes were wide and desperate. Every part of her screamed for him to say yes, to rescue her, to tell her that all she had been through was worth it. But his reply came low, broken, crushing. I thought I did. The gallery gasped as one. Robyn's body convulsed, as if the earth had given way beneath her. She clung to the table, her weeping beyond control. The attorney smiled, pleased. No further questions. But Christine was far from finished. She stood up, her finger aimed straight at Kody. Do you hear yourself? Do you get what you've done to us all? You destroyed marriages.
You broke children's hearts. You made us enemies rather than sisters. And now, after everything, you just sit there and tell me you thought you loved her? Do you get how cruel that is? Kody's face folded. Christine. I don't, she snapped. Don't you dare apologize now. It's too late. Robyn's wails echoed in the courtroom, her tears raw and heartbreaking. She wasn't weeping for herself. She was weeping for her children. The family she believed she constructed. The man who had just admitted, before the world, that his love for her may never have existed. The judge slammed his gavel at last. Order! This court will not descend into anarchy. The commotion quieted, but the damage was done. Kody Brown sat on the stand. Broken, his character in shambles. He had admitted his favoritism, acknowledged his shortcomings, and questioned the very love that bound him to Robyn. And Robyn Brown, the favorite wife, now sat in her chair shaking, finding that she had just lost the one thing she held on to. The gavel came down once more. Now this court will prepare for closing arguments. And the ultimate verdict. The words told like a death knell. Because the verdict wasn't simply about money or belongings any longer. The verdict would determine the heritage of a family, and the destiny of Robyn Brown's heart. The gavel thundered like a crack of lightning across the courtroom. Order! The judge ordered, his voice stern, but even his eyes revealing the gravity of what was to follow. This was no ordinary legal struggle. Everyone present in the room knew that. This was the last page in the Brown family's empire. Robyn Brown sat in the defense table, hands shaking wildly, mascara streaming down her cheeks, black rivers against white skin. She wasn't that composed, confident woman viewers once knew on TV. She was broken, shattered, hoping for the words to redeem her or bury her forever. Kody sat hunched over in the witness stand, his eyes fixed on the ground, refusing to meet the eyes of anyone in the room. His previous testimony clung to the air like a toxic cloud. The man who had professed to be the self-respecting patriarch had acknowledged his favoritism, acknowledged his disregard, and questioned his affection for the woman who had stood up for him all these years. Christine, Janelle and Meri sat side by side across the aisle. Finally they were together, not as competitors, but as survivors. Their eyes reflected pain, but also determination. This was their moment of truth. The judge cleared his throat. We have heard from all sides. We have listened to years of hurt, betrayal, and fragmentation poured out in these courtrooms. What was initially a case about money and assets has come to reveal itself to be something greater. A case about family, love, and trust. The gallery shifted forward. Reporters' cameras snapped in rapid succession. America was watching. The judge addressed Christine first. Mrs. Brown, do you have anything to say before the court announces its decision? Christine got to her feet, hands firm though shaking in her voice. I remained silent for years. I kept telling myself that if I just held on, if I just loved more, things would get better. But they didn't. They only intensified. Robyn did not simply enter our marriage. She was the marriage. The rest of us no longer existed.
And Kody did let this happen. This isn't just about betrayal as wives. It's about betrayal as mothers. Our children lost their father's attention, and our family lost its soul. All we ask for is acknowledgement of that truth. She sat down, wiping at her eyes, her chin lifted in quiet strength. The judge nodded solemnly. Mrs. Janelle Brown? Janelle stood up. She wasn't tearful like Christine. Her voice was sharper, steadier. To me, this is about justice. We created a life together. We created businesses, homes, and investments together. And when Robyn came in, everything changed. Resources were drained. Promises were broken. We were silenced, asked to stand behind decisions that financially and emotionally destroyed us. I want accountability. I want equity for what was stolen. Not only from me, but from my children. She sat, fire burning within her eyes. The judge then turned to Meri. Mrs. Brown? Meri rose slowly, her hands locked together in front of her. Her voice was gentle, but bore the weight of decades. I was the first wife. I built this family from scratch with Kody. I believed in plural marriage. I believed in the dream. But somewhere along the line, I became invisible, forgotten, replaced. I don't despise Robyn.
But I do despise what happened to us. I want the truth remembered. I don't want to disappear from the narrative, like I was forced to disappear from my own marriage. The resultant silence was oppressive. At last the judge addressed Robyn. Mrs. Robyn Brown, do you have anything to say before this court reaches its decision? Robyn stood unsteadily, almost falling before grasping the table for support. Her face streamed with tears. Her speech little more than a whisper. I never set out to ruin this family. I never wanted to be the favorite child. I pleaded for us to remain as one. But Kody favored me over them, and I did not refuse. I rationalized that it wasn't my fault. But perhaps it was. Perhaps I should have insisted more on him to love them equally. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her tears resonated through the room. The judge allowed the silence to run on before turning at last to Kody. Mr. Brown, do you have anything else to say? Kody finally sat up, his eyes puffy. His voice broke as he spoke. I let you all down. I thought I was heading a family, but I was just satisfying my own ego. I enjoyed being the center. I enjoyed being in demand. And Robyn made me feel that way. But in doing so, I left everyone else in the dust. I don't deserve forgiveness. Not from Christine. Not from Janelle. Not from Meri. And not from Robyn either. His head fell back down, shaking shoulders. The judge took a deep breath, then raised the papers in front of him. This court has reached its decision. The room was still. On the issue of property and financial division, this court finds in favor of Christine, Janelle and Meri Brown. Property acquired during the duration of these marriages will be equally divided among all parties, with no special preference made for Robyn Brown. Gasps filled the room. Robyn's lips opened, her heart crashing, but the judge was not finished.
On the issue of emotional damages, this court cannot apportion blame the way some might wish. One thing that is certain, however, is that this family has been devastated by favoritism, secrecy, and misplaced loyalty. The legacy of the Brown family as it was, is over. The gavel came down, this court is adjourned. The sound was final. Christine exhaled a trembling breath of relief, crying openly as Janelle slid a firm hand along her shoulder. Meri shut her eyes, muttering something only God and she could understand. Robyn slumped back in her chair, her crying uncontrollable. The verdict did not only take away her financial security, it took away the illusion she had held on to. She was no longer the beloved wife. She was the scapegoat, the icon of a shattered dream. And Kody sat quietly, his kingdom lost, his wives separated from him, his love for Robyn tainted by doubt. For the first time in decades, the man who had everything was left with nothing. As the courtroom cleared, Christine, Janelle and Meri filed out together, not as foes, but as women who survived betrayal and found their voices again. The cameras trailed behind them, journalists yelling questions, but their faces reflected something more profound than triumph. They bore scars, to be sure, but strength also. Robyn stayed behind, shaking, her tears smearing the wood of the table. Kody didn't reach out for her. He didn't even glance at her. He passed by, quiet, leaving her behind, as he had left the others before. And in that instant, the world was shown the reality. The Brown family wasn't shattered by plural marriage. It was shattered by favoritism, betrayal, and silence. The empire fell, but from its rubble, 3 women emerged stronger, while Robyn and Kody remained sitting amid the destruction they had wrought.